first of all, I mean, thank you guys for being here. And I am Chef Karen O. And I just want to say how thankful I am. I'm going to introduce Tony.
Sure. You want to join you? Okay.
Yeah. So I had an accident. I got knocked down by a few huge dogs running at top speed
Wow.
about 2 months ago.
So Karen, if you can just move over to your left. Awesome.
And since then, I've had family and friends, including Tony,
Awesome.
being my arms and my legs while I
But
got
not her brain.
And I'm so happy to be back in the kitchen.
Awesome.
So, and then there's Joe behind the camera.
Woohoo.
You'll see him.
And yeah, we'll get him in a little while. Thank you, Joe.
No problem.
And we are going to do 3 recipes from my Healthy Holiday Meal. And I was just going to show all of the recipes and let you guys guess which 3 we're going to prepare. Okay, so it's a nice balanced meal. It's a vegan meal, but a lot of these, I mean, any of these would go if you choose to have turkey with your Christmas or Thanksgiving dinner. The first one is a turkeyless turkey loaf, and in the book it's made. It's made in the order that you would prepare these dishes, and at the end you'll have a meal. So, okay.
Laptop is in the front.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Okay.
The Healthy Holiday Meal.
Yeah.
And the first one, I just want to show the pictures, is a turkeyless turkey loaf.
Wow, that looks great. Look at that. Delicious.
Yeah.
And the next one is a pumpkin pie. So the one that we're going to be preparing is a low-fat version. We also have a low-glycemic version in the book.
Wow, that looks
Oops,
delicious.
I just told you what one of these.
Uh-oh.
That was kind of obvious though because the picture was pumpkin pie.
That's true.
Okay. And then there's apple ginger cocktail, which starts your digestion.
Oh,
and
nice.
It's a good start to the meal without damaging brain cells or the waistline.
Yum.
Yeah. We always like those combo.
Yep.
And then there's a nice cranberry relish.
Look at those beautiful colors. Beautiful.
So this meal is all balanced so that it's not a whole lot of fat, and the fats are whole food fats.
Mhm.
This is a kale, collard, and cabbage salad.
Wow, look at that. Yum. Anybody have any favorites so far? Post it in the chat.
Also, guess which ones we're doing.
Yeah.
Okay, and then a fusion cauliflower stuffing. So some of the things are raw, some of them are everything's vegan here, and some of them are cooked, healthy. We're not using any oil.
Nope.
And that's why it's fusion,
Yep.
raw and.
Love it. Okay, I'm gonna get on the other side.
Oh, there's one more thing. Sweet
Okay.
potato ginger soup. Very easy soup. And delicious.
Okay.
So should I tell them why we're doing this?
Sure.
Well, okay, so I believe that some of my clients may be on this call. I hope they are. A lot of my clients have been telling me that the holidays are really, really hard. They think they only have 2 options. One is to eat everything in sight, or 2 to deprive themselves. And so Karen and I decided we wanted to show you that in between eating everything that's in sight, expanding your waistline, feeling awful, and eating nothing and feeling deprived, there's a whole sea of possibilities. And it's delicious. It's simple to prepare. You can take it to any party that you go to. We just want you to enjoy really good eating and make this holiday season something different where you don't feel deprived or feel like you have to go overboard. So we're hoping that you enjoy.
All right.
And we got a text that Roberta wanted to make everything you showed.
Oh,
So
you can do that. You can get the book in the video.
I will post the book. I will post the book in the chat.
But what we're gonna do is we're gonna start with the turkey-less turkey loaf, and for this we're gonna use a food processor, and we're gonna start with a cup of almonds. Now these almonds have been soaked and dehydrated. Almonds have, and any of the brown nuts have an enzyme inhibitor, which is a little bit bitter. So by soaking them, you get rid of that. That's what tells the nut not to sprout in your pantry.
and would that be
And
phytic acid?
Yes,
Or
and it would be, it's a little hard to digest. So by soaking them, it makes it easier to digest. It makes them taste better. So you soak them for about 8 to 12 hours, and then you dehydrate them, and that can go anywhere from like 24 to 36 hours, depending on the humidity in the air, where you live in the country, and even what time of year it is. So I just put the almonds in the food processor, and I'm gonna grind them until they're finely ground. So this is gonna be a little bit noisy.
how many almonds?
This is a cup. So what I'm doing is making a little loaf. This one has, you can double it to make 2, but what we're gonna do is make this little loaf and then slice it. And you can dehydrate it, or there are instructions to put it in the oven. And oh, you could preheat the oven.
I can.
Thank you.
Awesome.
I can do that.
Um,
And what do you
just
want
to
the other one?
about 170 is the slow that goes. Okay, so I'm gonna make noise grinding the almond. Okay, so this one, after you grind this to powder, you're just gonna put everything else in except the kale. We have some kale and some raisins that we're gonna put in at the end.
Can we see what type of almond powder that looks like, Karen?
Yeah, it's not quite as fine as I actually it might be able to put up. 'Cause I'm gonna have to put it-
Sure.
But we're gonna grind it some more, so this is fine.
Great. Thanks.
Okay, so then I'm just gonna throw everything else in here. We have 2 cups of carrots that we have grated in advance. And a third of a cup of diced onion.
Okay.
So you're getting all the flavors of Thanksgiving or Christmas, and all the colors. So with all the colors, you get different nutrients. But you're getting none of the blue.
That's right.
Nobody wants that.
I'm gonna add a teaspoon of coconut butter. And the coconut butter is just the meat and the water ground together, so it is a whole food. It's actually going to help this bind together.
Great.
And we're going to put in a 1/4 teaspoon of caraway seeds. Are there questions?
No
Yeah.
question.
You can just type too. Where do you get your caraway seeds from, Karen?
These are from Mountain Rose Herbs, the caraway seeds. And it doesn't take much, gives it a good flavor.
Mhm.
I'll show the.
So someone wants to know, is it less expensive to make vegan food than it is to make the traditional? It's about the same price.
It's cheaper.
Okay.
You wouldn't believe how cheap I can eat. And
Okay.
I eat a lot.
You do. I've
So
been
they
with her.
can really,
I've been with her a couple of weeks. You can eat.
yeah, because you're not finding meat food expensive. And I don't do a lot of nuts and seeds. here.
Or packaged food other than, yeah.
A lot of whole
Yeah.
squash potatoes here. Vegan food's not that. And it's organic.
Yes.
It's still pretty cheap.
Yes.
I'm gonna put a teaspoon of poultry seasoning. And so this is gonna be give you the flavor like turkey.
Okay.
It's got rosemary.
Does the bag list the
Sage.
spices? Or?
It does. It's all organic. Thyme, sage, marjoram, rosemary. And that's it.
Mhm.
Okay. Put a teaspoon.
So Karen, what's your favorite holiday recipe?
Your go-to.
Yeah.
I love the cranberry relish.
Mm.
So the cranberry relish is that everybody has at their Thanksgiving or their Christmas table with their turkey or whatever. And
It's familiar.
it is.
Yeah.
And this one is so good. And we used to, even before we became vegan, a long time ago when I was a kid, have this cranberry, the one that I have in my book. And, it's raw, but we didn't know
Right.
about raw food. It was just
It was good.
delicious.
Right.
Yeah. I made it a little bit healthier instead of using brown sugar. I used dates.
Yum.
And why not?
Why not?
Exactly.
Getting all the minerals and the fiber and stuff instead of just sugar.
Absolutely.
Salt. So this, I have a quarter to a half teaspoon of salt. It's really to taste.
And the type of salt you're using is?
This is pink Himalayan salt, actually. Sea salt is alright too. Just you don't want to use that bleached iodized table salt.
Right. And maybe people need to know why they don't want to use that.
Well, all the minerals have been stripped out of it,
And all that's left is the
they've
toxins.
used, like chemicals to
Jeez.
yeah, all that's left is the
Yikes.
toxins, that's right.
Let me know if you need help.
And that's from Premier Labs.
It's actually they have some. I'm just using the container.
Oh,
and
okay.
I refill
But
it.
you can actually get this salt from any health food store.
Right.
Just be careful. So some of my clients, bless their hearts, they have been trying to go healthy and they go to a traditional store that says it's sea salt. And actually it might have a little sea salt in it, but it's mostly bleached. So if it's white, here's a hint. It's not sea salt.
Yeah.
So you want it to be pink or is it gray? Gray. If it's white, most likely it's been processed. So just say no and run to your nearest health food store so that you can get the right type of salt.
And then what I'm putting in now is psyllium husk, and it's a plant fiber. But what it's going to do, and we're just putting a little bit, is going to help bind this together.
Show the label.
Huh?
Oh, I'll show the label.
So how many of you out there are responsible for preparing Thanksgiving dinner this year? And kind of curious as to whether or not you're going to do something different. And if you're responsible, let me know.
Okay, the last thing before I put the kale and the raisins in there, and everything is optional. If you don't want any sweet in there, don't put the raisins in. When you make food yourself, you make it how you like it.
Absolutely.
So the last thing I'm putting in is some these are chia seeds. Get your omega-3s, but I'm going to grind them. So you grind them, it kind of has the same effect as the psyllium, giving it some fiber and some more nutrition. And I'm just putting them in a Tri-Best. And you can do a coffee grinder or a spice grinder or.
So you don't really need a lot of fancy equipment.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or expensive.
You can even do this. I mean, if you're making a big batch of this,
Yeah.
you can grind it in the Vitamix.
Nice.
So I'm gonna make a little bit of noise.
All right.
now it's ground. And chia seeds can actually soak up 9 times their weight in water or liquid. So that comes in handy.
Mhm.
Okay.
And in addition to those omega-3s, it has a great deal of other minerals like magnesium and zinc.
So make a
More
little
noise.
We're just so it's just throwing it all in here. I like to keep my hand on the pulse button to have more control.
So Karen, we know you have a chef's grade food processor there. So if someone's out there and they're like, I've never used a food processor and I really want to try, what's about the price range? Can we get one for like $50?
Yeah,
under?
you can probably get a big mount for like $50, something like that. If you do Bed Bath and Beyond, whatever brand you find, you can use their 20% off coupons. So they actually have some of these with the adjustable blades that are like up to 14. I think they have a 12 cup and a 14 cup. This is a 16 cup, and it's only at Williams and Sonoma, as far as I know.
Yes.
Okay, so that is
I know you need me to
together
help. Oh,
Looks
that's
like-
beautiful.
like a little ground meat.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
And then I'm gonna put the kale and raisins in and we're just gonna pulse it in until it's mixed because we don't want it to turn green. This is just we don't want it to turn brown. We want the green
Yes.
to give it a nice color.
Green is my favorite color.
And then we want the raisins just barely chopped. So we're not gonna create a mush here. We're gonna give it some color and some texture.
I sealed that so you can tell it's very airtight. I'm a good sous chef. No air in there. Would you like me to help? Okay.
Wow.
I know. Don't know my own strength. Guaranteed fresh. Roberta wants to know what kind of greens.
This is kale. Any kind of, you could do collards, you could do spinach,
Yeah.
you could do whatever you like.
So spinach is a milder kind of green, right? So what's your favorite green, Roberta, if you don't mind telling us? What would you put in there? Spinach or collard or kale, dandelion leaves.
Wow.
Karen, can you speak up just a little bit? Everyone loves what you're saying, but they want to make sure they hear you. Okay. All right.
Okay. Now, you can see what it looks like.
Yum.
And
Oh.
I'm gonna,
Oh, no. Roberta was saying collards are her favorite. Mine
that
too.
will work. I have some growing in the backyard. Okay, so then I have this mini loaf pan, and I'm just lined it with parchment paper. You could do wax paper. You could do saran wrap if you use that. Whatever you like. So what it's for is you're gonna be able to pull it out easily. Grab the two edges and pull it out and have a loaf. So
Makes
I'm
cleanup a breeze, right?
Yeah. So what I'm gonna do is just press it into the pan. And then we're gonna let it sit for about 15 minutes while we make the pie crust.
Would you like some assistance?
Yeah, you want to put it in here and press it down?
Sure, I can do that.
Well, that's a really good point you were mentioning, Karen, about not blending the raisins to the point of them being mushy, because texture is just so
Oh
important.
my gosh, yes.
So if you put that down as hard as it'll go, and then
So
you
put
can
the
put
whole
the rest
thing
of it in there.
Sure. So the reason I love Karen's food and that we are in sync and we eat the same foods because Karen likes her food to be simple but tasty. If it's more than 5 ingredients, because that's kind of my thing, then I'm generally not interested. Or that 6th ingredient better be awesome. So
And this is awesome.
but she's very much like me. She makes her food simple and flavorful. Because if you have to spend more time in the kitchen than you do eating it, to me, there's a problem. Now I like gourmet, when you have the time for a special occasion, which is this. But I just want to let you know you don't have to spend an awful lot of time in the kitchen to eat like it's gourmet.
Ray, I taught this class, this whole book. It was like a 2-hour class, and we made every single thing
In 2
and
hours.
tasted it. And if we weren't talking so much, it wouldn't have taken 2 hours. Yep.
So this, I wish you all could smell this. Oh my gosh, it smells divine. Yes. It smells divine. But hey, don't worry about it. I'm gonna taste for you, okay? I'm gonna make sure it's good. I'll let you know. Yeah, this is beautiful. Oh, amazing. So what's next after this?
Okay, so now we are
This
going
goes in the
to,
oven.
not yet.
Maybe we can hold it up to the.
Oh, yeah.
You gotta press
absolutely.
it down as hard as you can.
Okay.
Yeah, you can use your hands.
I can use my hands? Okay, I'm eating it, so it's all good. Okay. Oh, yeah, that makes a difference.
Because the harder you press it down,
The
the
more,
more it's gonna bind together.
that makes sense.
If you leave it kind of loose, it will be kind of crumbling when you cut it.
And I'm gonna
And
tell you a
maybe little
secret.
bit more.
Absolutely. I'm gonna tell you a secret about food too, because it's live food. I love playing with my food. I love touching it. It just, it energizes me. I feel more connected to my food than when I use equipment. So I really, I'm digging this, just saying.
Okay, so
So-
while that sets,
More?
just because that's hard.
Hey, we're pressing hard.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
It looks good. Smooth
Okay.
it up.
all right. I'm counting it because I'm strong. Oh yeah, that makes a difference. I can see it's binding better. So don't be shy. Just go ahead and
And then you can use this to
pound
like,
away and then smooth it out. Okay. Nice, nice, nice.
And I'm gonna go ahead and start on the pie crust. So what I have is 2 cups of gluten-free oats. This is again the low-fat version, and then we have a low glycemic version in the book, which would not use oats and dates. Right, so all this is oats, and we don't put it in. We're gonna let it sit. We can just put it somewhere
Okay.
while we make the
Alright.
crust, and then we're gonna slice it,
Oh.
and we're gonna put it on the cookie sheet, and
Okay.
we're gonna put it in the oven, and that way it takes less time.
I like that. That's a good tip. Did you all hear that tip?
You could bake it like it is, but it would take a long time. So we're gonna slice it. It's gonna set up in the time it takes to make this pie crust, and then we're gonna pull it out, and you'll see it keeps it shaped. We're gonna slice it, and then put it on the cookie sheet, put it in the oven, and then by the time we finish the rest of the pie and our third dish that nobody's guessing, it'll be ready. Okay.
And it's great that you have a low glycemic version.
Yeah.
I love that.
Can you hand me that thing of beets?
Sure.
Thank you. Here. So, another tiny update.
I'm a good sous chef. I keep my food fresh.
We're gonna, all it is 2 cups of oats, 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Salt brings out the sweetness. If you're avoiding salt, you can sure leave it out. And then a cup of dates. And the dates bind the oats together. And we're just gonna press it into a pie pan.
Okay, so do we have our pie pan available? Okay. So Karen, how long would this keep in the refrigerator? You know, how long would we be able to keep? Like 1 minute
You could
because it won't go in the
probably take it,
refrigerator,
keep
right?
it for a week, but I've never had anything. People eat.
I understand.
All right, so we're going to,
Some assistance with the dates.
sure, I'm just gonna hit the dates.
Because you don't want
That'd be a
those-
good idea.
Yeah, you don't want the seed in there.
And when you're pitting them, since they are organic, you want to look and make sure there's no critters,
Critters,
in there.
yeah, not good.
Or mold. Sometimes there's, but I'd rather have that and throw some of them away than have pesticides.
Now, if you're getting dates that are less than fresh and they look like they're kind of crystallizing, it would be a good idea to soak them for a bit. These are fairly moist, but sometimes if you get them that've been in the store for a bit.
You
Okay.
could soak
One
in
down.
rain. but don't soak them too long.
Yeah,
'cause they
then they're gonna
turn
get
this
messy.
into mush.
Yeah, you just want enough so that they're pliable. Okay, yeah, it's all right. Too many chefs in the kitchen. just
No,
saying.
Weird.
So are you more of a fan of pulsing, Karen? Or?
With this, yes, because you
Okay.
want the texture kind of dry. You're just gonna go until it. Just the lid. We're just gonna pulse it until it kind of holds together. We don't want much.
Nope.
A little more noise. And I'll tell you, these are kind of dry. You could put more dates in, or you could add a little bit of water. I'm just gonna let it go for a little while. 'Cause I'm choosing to put a few more dates in because they were a little bit small, and we didn't measure it. I know that usually 12 big dates is a cup. So that's what we did, and these are not so big.
No.
And does it matter the type of dates, or did you talk about
These
that?
are medjool dates, and that's what kind I like to use because they're pretty plump, pretty big, pretty sticky. Okay, so now I'm going to well, it's just about starting to stick together. I'm going to save some of these dates for pie. In case we need more, I'm going to put a little bit of water in here.
Okay, so I'll get you a little water. No problem. So I'm sure that you make sure your water is clean. We like clean water.
And I heard wet is a good.
Right.
Wet water.
Yeah.
we like our
That
water
is always
wet.
good. So this is reverse osmosis filtered water.
Delicious water. Best in
And you
town.
know what? I'm gonna just turn this on. So the reverse osmosis gets the fluoride out, and the fluoride actually gets into your iodine receptors before you can get before the iodine.
Yeah.
So it's bad for your thyroid. I'm gonna. You want to? I'm just gonna turn this on and let it go and pour a little water in as it's running until it starts to stick together. So could you hear it change? Like
I did.
yeah.
So what I'm finding with my clients, maybe you are too, that are converting from cooked food to cooked standard American food to this more gut-friendly food, is that they're afraid to play with their food. That looks good.
Sorry, that's how it's going.
Yeah, I love that.
No, you got to get in and play with it.
And
Taste it,
yeah,
feel it,
that's it. Play with your food.
taste it some more.
And really, I've only had to throw away one recipe in 20 years. It was that horrible. But I just couldn't salvage it. But for the most part, you can salvage this. Just, do things to taste.
Yeah, it's hard to mess up.
And you may even develop a new recipe. I've done that too. I followed someone else's recipe and I didn't like it. And then I developed my own. So, play with your food. Enjoy the process. We're so far removed from our food now. We buy it packaged or we buy it with someone else's flavors in it. We've just lost connection. So get reconnected with your food.
And here's a tip: write down what you do. If you don't like it, change it, throw it away, whatever. But then you'll be able to recreate it.
Absolutely.
If you like it. Okay, so I poured the crust into the pie pan, and I'm just gonna get it where I want it before I start pressing it down. So it looks really full, right?
Yeah,
Okay. Just give me a spoon.
right.
All right. So what I'm gonna do first is I'm going to press in to the side with this hand. I'm pressing down with my thumb to make kind of an edge all around the side.
So is this like traditional? People are used to making pie crust. Is it sort of a traditional way that you do that? So if people are familiar with that, it's the same technique.
It's a little different because you don't roll it out. And
Oh,
put it
gotcha.
in the- But yeah, we're kind of going for a traditional look here.
That's good.
I could have had a
A
little
bit
more water in there.
Yeah.
And you know what?
It's
I
not
can
too
still
late.
do that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I say. It's not too late. It's never too late. And
Yeah,
because-
see, it's hard to mess up this.
It really is. Because, no two
You
days
mess up
are
your
the-
kitchen, yes.
Absolutely.
You clean that up.
It's almost like making sandcastles.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just the right amount of moisture. Well, Karen, how long have you been preparing healthy meals like this?
About 17 years,
17 years. Wow.
or maybe more than that.
And why did you decide to pursue this? I'll let you do that first.
Yeah. Let me just get this going.
Okay.
There we go. Okay, so how I got into this, actually, my kids one was allergic to dairy, one was lactose intolerant, and I started, making healthier food for all of us because I wasn't gonna make 3-4 different meals every time we had a meal.
Mhm.
And then I got a sinus infection one year.
Oh, wow.
I used to get sinus infections or strep I had antibiotics every other month from the time I was a kid.
Wow.
And one time I got one, I was almost 40, and it would not go away.
That was yesterday, right?
And I had 5 rounds of different antibiotics.
Wow.
And then somebody told me I needed to go see a nutritionist, Rita Marie,
Ah.
and I did.
Yeah.
And we just made a few simple changes. She showed me how to make a nut milk and a nut cheese,
Nice.
and I was off of dairy. I already didn't drink milk, but I like cheese. And since I didn't drink milk, I drank orange juice with calcium in it. So I was only getting the sugar from the juice. I wasn't getting the fiber from the orange or anything. And I mean, I just made a couple changes like that: no gluten, no dairy, and no refined sugar, which I didn't do already. I had a grandmother that was way before her time that sugar lowers your immune system, and I heard that all my life.
It's so
So
true.
I guess I was ready for it, but once I learned how to make a dairy substitute,
So you've been trained in a number of areas. I know you and I both went to Living Light, so we're trained as raw food chefs, and we're trained to teach people. But you also have additional training. What else have you learned to do with food?
well, I went to elderly people
Mhm.
than what we have right now. So I thought, healthy cooked food. You can't just switch somebody who's been eating meat and potatoes all their lives to raw food.
That's a good
1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
So this is working nicely. So I'm pressing in and down,
Nice.
and go all the way around like that.
Mhm. Now, would you need to set that up in your freezer or the refrigerator?
And it is ready.
It's ready to go.
Very low fat, high touch. No baking. Okay, so once you have it all around the sides like that, can press down the middle.
You know what I love about playing with your food like this? I mean, if you involve the kids, if the food is so flavorful and colorful, they would enjoy it. Yeah, bring the kids back to the kitchen. Do your kids, do they enjoy preparing food with you? Or?
Yeah, well now they're
Well, they're grown people.
25 and 29. But they do
Nice.
make good healthy food.
Very nice.
Right, so I press that down. I'm gonna do two more things. I'm gonna go press in at where the bottom meets the side,
Yeah.
or else you'd have just a big wedge of pie crust, which wouldn't be a bad
Not
thing,
bad,
but it
no.
just doesn't look
Traditional, right. And so your favorite indulging food, if you really, let's start with recipe with dessert. What's your favorite? Like so many. Yeah, let's get us all hungry.
I make a raw pecan pie that's really good.
Yeah.
It tastes just like traditional pecan pie, but it's
Yeah.
healthy. And then, okay, the last thing I'm going to do,
Mhm.
sorry,
Yeah, go ahead.
so I've got it all the way around here. And you can take a jar and roll it. We're not using that right now.
Okay.
I have a little rolling pin.
Oh,
But that's okay. No. So what I'm going to do is press down with my thumb and in and back with my two fingers and kind of flute
Oh,
the
okay.
edges. And you sure don't have to do this.
And it doesn't have to be perfect.
No.
Right. Just
I mean,
play
you
with
can
your
eat
food.
it however, and it'll taste good.
It's gonna taste the same. But play with your food. It's not that serious. So I've had clients ask me if it's okay to substitute things. It's perfectly okay to substitute
Yeah.
something that is more appealing to you.
That's the beauty of making your own food.
Particularly people out there who prepare food on a regular basis. I mean, when I learned to be a raw food chef, I didn't know how to cook food. So many of you out there, oh, that's beautiful. Wow.
All right, so we're gonna put this up here
Mhm.
for a minute, and we'll get back to the loaf.
Okay, I will
We're
get back
ready
to the loaf.
slice the loaf.
Right, slice away.
Yeah, I guess I never said. Did I ever say what the dogs did to me?
No, I don't think so.
Sorry, had an accident and they broke my leg. So, okay. Serrated edge knife. There's one in here.
But you don't blame our four-legged friends, do you?
No, they were just playing, but it was
The owners.
unfortunate. Oh, there's a light. I don't know if you can see this, but it's set up really nice.
Look at that.
It's a
And you
little
see,
loaf.
it's not perfect because I did the pressing.
It's okay. Yeah,
Yeah, right now it's perfect.
perfect.
It
It was perfect.
Just a hat away from being perfect.
And then, yeah, if it breaks, you just stick it back together.
There you go.
Serrated edge knife works really well.
Makes sense. And serrated means that
And it has, I don't
it's
see it.
ridges. Little
Yeah,
ridges.
ridges.
Mhm.
So I'm just gonna cut it off. You wanna bring that cookie sheet over?
I do.
And just lay it on the cookie sheet.
Wow, that looks delicious. Very colorful. And I noticed that you put the setting as low as it can go.
Yeah,
Yeah. And even with that, how long do we keep it in the oven?
this will probably take about half an hour.
No, it's not bad.
Whatever, I don't know what time it is, but whatever time we're gonna eat it. Okay.
And what are your top 5 kitchen appliances, tools?
Top 5. Blender. The Vitamix is my, I guess, I don't know, Vitamix. It's high. Okay.
Yeah.
Vitamix,
Roberta had a quick question. How much chia seed was in the loaf?
1 tablespoon ground.
1 tablespoon
You take
ground.
a tablespoon and then grind it.
Gotcha.
right, so see my top 5 appliances.
My hand.
Sous chefs.
Yeah.
Okay, the blender, a food processor, the Instant Pot
Oh, we love
is
the Instant Pot.
definitely
Oh,
right up
okay.
here with the Vitamix. That's 3. I love my Mac knife. 4.
Okay.
And then these little spatulas, believe it or not, I mean, they get everything out of the blender.
Gotcha.
They're thin enough, but they are so hard to find.
Huh.
You ever find they're good grips?
Who makes them?
Jar spatula, OXO.
OXO, okay.
And I'm not positive they make them anymore. They're so hard to find.
Wow.
Yeah,
They do make jar spatulas, but they're not like.
right.
So the pie filling, you need a quarter cup of water. Which, alright. And then I have 3 cups of butternut squash. You can use pumpkin. We just cubed it to measure it. So either fit.
That's what you have sous chefs for.
Okay. Right. And then half a cup of this.
Okay. I guess I should open that. No?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm a good sous chef. I'm a pepperoni.
So I might add another couple dates.
Okay.
Small.
Yeah, they do usually come a little bit larger than this.
Usually
Large
I
ones,
buy
yeah.
from the date people, which, oh, they're so good and so
So
fresh.
moist.
Yeah,
Oh.
huge, moist dates. But I ate
Is that
them
at
all.
the farmer's market or?
They have to order them
Ah.
by phone. You can't even order them online. They're the coolest people
And where are they out of?
in California. But, they just have the date farm.
Wow.
So good.
Yeah, it's
But, and I
nothing-
have an order coming, but it's not here yet. Okay.
All right.
And then you hand me those raisins.
Sure.
Good. So the dates are one sweetness. The raisins are for sweetener also. They're a little bit brighter. It just gives more depth of flavor to mix the two.
So it's not necessarily for more sweetness, although you do get more sweetness. It's for depth of flavor because they do have different flavor profiles.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. And then we're gonna do pumpkin pie spice.
Yum.
So that was a quarter cup of raisins. And then you're gonna do a half to 1 teaspoon of pumpkin pie spice, depending on your taste and how fresh the spices are.
Pile it on.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Pile
go
it
right in the
on.
middle.
I love pumpkin pie spice. It's that.
Alright.
And this is from the natural grocer?
It is.
Grocers.
Could use any pumpkin pie spice.
And we highly recommend organic. Yes. Highly recommend
Right.
organic.
Oh, yeah.
So it's cinnamon, ginger, nutmeg, allspice, clove, and cardamom.
Yeah.
And yes, it's organic.
Yes. 'Cause we want all the flavor and all the toxins.
Right. Okay. And then put 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt,
To bring out the
sweetness.
yay. I was listening that day.
Yay. And let's see, a teaspoon of cinnamon.
Cinnamon, get it out. There we go.
Oh yeah, I forgot. We need 3/4 of a cup of
I
water
can do that.
in that, and I'll talk about this in a minute. Yeah.
Do it now?
Yes. Yeah, because I'm gonna ask you to do it.
Oh,
Yeah.
lucky me.
3/4.
Okay.
So we're gonna do a teaspoon of cinnamon. I'm gonna do a half teaspoon twice since I've messed up with it. Teaspoon here.
You have a yellow sticker on your blender. Is that?
I used to do classes with a couple of other people,
Uh-huh.
and all of our equipment was like somebody's was green, somebody's was purple. And
And
So that's more than 3/4. That's a 2-cup measure.
Okay, so we need to take a little bit out.
Right, cooked, let's see. A teaspoon of vanilla extract.
Okay, I think that is now 3/4 of a cup. Makes a difference.
Okay, so what I'm gonna have Tony do is put the water in this pot.
Yep, I can do that. I'm so talented.
Yay!
Best water pour in the world.
And then we're gonna take half a teaspoon of agar powder.
And what is agar?
It's actually a seaweed, so it's good for your minerals, and actually it's good for your blood sugar.
Nice.
So we're
And
gonna,
can you get it as a liquid too, or is it always powder?
you can get powder or flakes.
Okay.
So what we're gonna do is dissolve it in the water first, the cold water. Tony's just gonna stir it up,
Because I'm also good at doing that too.
and then she's gonna stir it on the stove until it boils for a couple minutes.
I can do that. On low?
Medium.
Guess I should have go there now. Right.
Just keep stirring it.
Keep stirring it.
And what it's gonna do is, it's dissolving in the water, it's gonna heat up, and then as it cools, it's gonna thicken like into, it's a gel. And so we're gonna pour that, we're gonna let it cool a little bit, pour it into the mixture here, and then as the whole pie sets up, it'll keep its shape. So what I need is a teaspoon of vanilla extract.
So,
Was that a teaspoon or a tablespoon of agar?
Teaspoon. It was actually half a teaspoon.
Half a teaspoon?
Yeah.
And how do you pronounce it?
Agar.
Thanks, Karen.
I
Appreciate that.
Right, so a teaspoon of vanilla extract. That smells really good.
so your vanilla extract, I'm a little bit of a snob. I like mine without alcohol.
They make it with in glycerin, but this one has alcohol.
I'm
But it is organic. So it's a teaspoon and like 8 big pieces of pie. The beginning, like 1/8 of a teaspoon if you eat a whole 1/8 of the pie.
Wow.
That's not much.
No.
All right, so then we just need that. I should have asked you to do that before we started.
What's that?
That.
Oh, that's okay. We're being thoroughly entertained.
We are.
All good. So did you make up the fusion raw and cooked, or was it something that you were taught, or did you decide to do that to
I
satisfy
guess-
your clients?
Actually, I did it to satisfy myself.
Okay.
So I was eating raw, totally raw for about 15 years. And then, and I wasn't tolerating a whole lot of nuts and seeds. So I was eating a lot of fruits and vegetables, but I was, eating, and I was only getting like 700, 800, or 900 calories a day, and that's not enough. So the more raw you get with whatever you're eating, the more nutrients you get, and the healthier you're going to be. But I started cooking beans and sweet potatoes, things that you really wouldn't eat raw. Although I have a raw sweet potato recipe, you just massage I grate the sweet potatoes and massage it with lemon and salt, and that breaks the cell wall, which is what cooking does.
Well, we have a boil here.
Okay, so keep stirring.
Just keep stirring.
Let it go for like a minute.
Okay.
And then we'll just pour it in here. So everything in here is raw and cold, and that is gonna come in here, but it's not gonna cook this stuff. The other stuff is gonna cool that down.
You think? All right, now leave the fire on just in case it's not.
Okay, what I'm gonna do is let you, the way we can test it is just put it over here, over the sink. Yeah, you can turn that off.
You know what I'm saying?
And I'm just gonna wet the bottom of the can
Oh,
with cold water.
interesting.
You can take it down.
Take it down low.
Yeah.
I've
And
never.
so
done
it's
that
gonna
before.
cool it down pretty fast.
That's pretty cool. That's a neat trick.
Try not to
Oh,
screw you.
it's okay. I'm not afraid of water. The vampires are, right? No, water's good.
You can do it with a bowl. If that bowl,
Very
but there's
clever.
too much stuff in the sink right now.
It's okay.
Put a bowl.
I can see that it's
Is it thickening?
yeah, a little bit.
That means
That is a very neat trick. Love that.
and then I'm just gonna pour it in.
Cool off and everything.
Yeah,
Wow,
nice
that's a
and thick.
nice, yeah, nice consistency.
Alright,
Perfection.
so we just threw everything in the blender and we're just gonna turn it on and get it smooth and pour it into that pie crust.
Karen, if the person didn't have that very expensive
Blender.
Vitamix, yeah,
Yeah.
is there a regular blender that would work?
Yeah,
With that?
you can do this in a regular blender, but instead of cubing the squash
Yes.
or the pumpkin, I would either like just put it in the food processor first
Process.
or shred it.
Oh, shredding, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
And I'm just gonna taste it.
And that's less stress on the blades.
And it's good.
I'm sure it is.
Mhm.
But if y'all want me to check for you, I can. I'm gonna do that for the team. Just, you know, I'll make sure that I'm your
Yeah,
taste
taste
tester.
tester.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
Joe, you wanna taste?
Oh
Sure.
my goodness. All right, y'all want this recipe, I'm just saying. That is
Sure.
delicious.
You get to eat the pie too. You know?
Awesome. It has the same consistency of traditional pumpkin. It's a nice full fat feel in the mouth. I love that. Yum. Mm.
And you know what? I even forgot to put the coconut butter in there.
Wow.
It was just gonna be 1 tablespoon of coconut butter, and it gives it more of a creamy
Mhm.
flavor and consistency, but it's perfectly fine like
You
this.
don't want to put it in what's left, and maybe half.
Mhm.
See what happens. You want to put a little bit in there now, or just leave it?
Yeah, it'll be good.
It's for us what we do.
Yeah. It just gives a little, put the coconut butter in, it gives it a little buttery, a more buttery flavor.
Should I take the piping out of the refrigerator?
We're gonna let this set up. So we made the coconut cream topping,
Mm-hmm.
but we're gonna let this set up before we put it on. And the recipe for that is in the book. I think I forgot to show.
Wow, and this I would just polish off. That would just be yummy to. I don't need the crust. I'm just saying. This is so delicious. Oh, that's so good.
I'll save you some.
Thank you. That is the benefit of being a sous chef. Get all the leftovers.
Save you that.
Yes. Well, Karen is actually, she's a wonderful spirit and a very good chef. I'm telling you, eating really well here. And it's simple. It's not, it tastes, it gives you the taste of gourmet, but it's so simple.
Yeah, if it's hard, I'm not gonna do
See,
it.
she and I, we're a lot alike that way. So she's been doing the lion's share of the meals, but even if I want to prepare something, it takes me 1 to 3 minutes, she's not gonna eat it. This is not gonna get done. But we've been using that handy dandy Instapot to prepare some things and peel and eat.
Yeah.
Always nice. But the point of the matter is you don't have to make things complicated for them to be good and for them to taste gourmet. The important thing is flavors. Yeah. And I don't count salt and sugar, not salt and pepper as a flavor. Oh, okay.
I'm gonna let Tony put this in the fridge to set up while we make
Awesome.
our last
Wow, my word, that's so beautiful. I'm gonna
We'll top it and we'll eat it.
Yeah. This is mine.
Yeah. Oh,
Yes,
do you
ma'am.
want to taste it?
Thank you.
Sorry, there's something here if you want a spoonful.
Oh, that's great.
Okay, has anybody guessed what?
Thanksgiving's come early.
Yay. Anyone guessing what the last recipe is?
Oh, let's check and see.
Okay,
Let's guess.
thank you.
So any guesses about the recipe? No one's guessing. Any favorites? What's the last recipe you'd like to see based on what Karen showed us? So you won't be disappointed either way. I'm just gonna see if there's any crowd favorites. So maybe we should remind them what's left.
Oh, okay. We have the apple ginger cocktail,
The apple ginger cocktail is an option.
cranberry relish,
Cranberry relish,
kale, cabbage, and collards,
kale, cabbage, and collards. Yum.
and the fusion cauliflower stuffing,
Fusion cauliflower stuffing. I already know what my favorite is.
sweet potato ginger soup.
Oh my gosh, sweet potato ginger
It's
soup.
like recipe roulette.
That's it.
That's it. So which of those sound delicious to you? They all sound great to me. There is no prize. Oh.
There was a question.
Yeah. Okay. So the stuffing, Valerie says the stuffing is her favorite.
There you go.
You're the winner. That's what we're gonna have, right?
That's what we're doing. Or actually, you could chop the apple one, dice the apple one, and use it over there.
I'm gonna do it off screen.
Yeah.
What do you need?
All that over.
Okay.
So I'm gonna have to go over to the stove.
Okay. Just go to the stove. So
Yeah, that sweet potato ginger soup, I thought.
It's so good.
Now, do you have a favorite type of apple, Karen? Or?
You can use any kind of apple, but I love Fuji apples.
Okay.
sweet.
If you're doing low glycemic, you have a Granny Smith. Okay.
Now, what do I do for you?
So what we're gonna do is water saute all the ingredients. We're gonna start with onions, carrots, and celery.
So what's the benefit of water sauteing versus the traditional
So
kind of
we
sauteing?
are gonna make this whole dish with no oil.
No oil. Mm.
So we're gonna put in the onions.
Oil is a fractured food, right? Most of it is rancid. And so even if you use it just for culinary purposes, it really doesn't always add much value because it's mostly rancid. Except coconut oil holds its freshness a little longer than the rest. And olive oil.
All right, so I put in the onions.
Okay. Do you need any help? All right. Well, I have to say, I have to brag on you a little bit. When I came here 10 days ago, I could not imagine you doing this right now. I mean, everything was slowing up. I mean, goodness gracious. Now you're driving. You're preparing food for Thanksgiving.
So it had to be off of my feet. They told me originally 8 to 12 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
No weight on this foot. And then at my 6-week checkup, they said I could go to physical therapy and I could start putting weight.
Nice.
So it's all the good nutrition.
It's all the good
Awesome.
nutrition.
It is.
Yes.
But
Makes all the difference in the world.
yeah, just staying off of my foot for 6 weeks, all the muscles atrophy.
Yeah. You've been doing really well.
Alright, so what I'm doing is just sauteing the onions. And I'm gonna put the carrots and the celery in there. The water is gonna cook out of these veggies. And instead of putting oil in here, I'm just gonna add water.
It smells
they won't
delicious. Wow, it smells so good. Oh my word. So Karen, do you offer classes?
I do.
Mm. Are they online or?
Actually, I've been doing them in person
Oh,
here in Austin, the Austin area.
nice.
Um,
And I know for this particular healthy holiday meal, you have a video, right? It won't be as much fun as this because, you know, you won't have me.
but you get to taste it.
Hey!
So it's on my website.
And it's in the chat.
A video and a recipe.
It's in the chat, so go ahead and you guys are liking what you're seeing and what you're hearing, and you want to do something different for Thanksgiving, that is going to be a crowd pleaser, and you're going to be supported by a chef extraordinaire, then jump on it and let us know how you like it. Which one you do, or which 2 or 3 you do, and let us know.
All the recipes are in the recipe guide.
And
You
you
get
guys
the
want
whole
them.
recipe guide and the video music and everything.
Right.
Cook along. And then you'll feel energized instead of needing a nap
Yes.
after your Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner.
And that's kind of one of the tips I like to, because I think we advertise I'd be giving some tips, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So one of the tips that I like to tell my clients is, you know, we take a good, better, best approach. If you feel like you want to indulge and overindulge, it's better to overindulge in this type of food as opposed to the kind that's going to be uncomfortable comfort food. So if you haven't gotten over, you know, the idea of using Thanksgiving as a day to indulge, then yeah, that's what I recommend my clients do. Indulge on the good stuff. And that may mean you may need to take your own food and enough to share with everybody else. So I also, go ahead.
Sorry,
Say it to me.
it just reminded me of something.
Yeah.
Like, one time we had a family Thanksgiving dinner, and I made all the sides, and my brother made the turkey.
Oh, nice.
And they, you know, those were meat eaters, but they went around the table and actually, you know, everyone said what was their favorite dish, and it was the kale, cabbage, and collards.
Nice.
That's in this book.
Great.
So it's not just for vegans.
No. And then I think it's important to have a different mindset. You know, holiday is really about Thanksgiving, right? And so here's what I had to do, because I was getting overwhelmed by all the busyness and people really not using the holiday for what it was meant to be. It was stressing me out. So what I did to bring more Thanksgiving into Thanksgiving is I would go to a shelter and help other people. And it filled my heart with joy. And so I was able to celebrate more because, you know, it wasn't just about putting as much food in your body as you can and then watching movies or football. So you might want to make that a new holiday tradition. It worked for me. The other thing that I do, and I encourage my clients to do, is when you are at celebrations, remember it's about the company. It's about the experience. Don't make it about the food. And it's a good time to practice mindful eating. Now, you all may not know this, but we're supposed to chew our food more than 2 times, right? If you're chewing your food more than 2 times, you're not really enjoying the experience. So it's a good time to practice chewing your food, enjoying the food, enjoying the company, and chatting. And you'll feel more satisfied. You'll feel more satiated. And you may not feel a need to go for 3 or 4 helpings. Yeah. At least that's worked for me. But make the focus of the family, the friends, not the food necessarily. Food is just a reason for us to get together. Don't you agree, Karen?
Yes.
Yeah. So, would you like me to bring that over now? Are we ready?
Oh, yeah, that's the last thing.
Okay. It's diced really small.
Right, that's good. Really good.
Because now we're gonna end up having applesauce. There's anything wrong with that.
Okay, so there's rosemary and sage in this recipe that I didn't have, but there's rosemary and sage in the poultry seasoning, so we're going to use that.
Okay. And so
The poultry seasoning.
right here. do you need your other
No,
leg?
yes,
Okay.
probably.
What was your other leg?
Fourth leg.
Okay. Yeah, she's been doing well. And I'm happy to prepare anything for you if you need me to. There's your fourth leg.
Parsley. A quarter cup of parsley.
Yes. That was fun doing that last night. And the beauty of this is that you don't have to spend your whole day doing the prep. You can do the prep the night before or a couple days before and just prepare the meal.
Cauliflower and mushrooms.
Cauliflower and mushrooms, delicious.
So there's no bread in here.
Because we don't need bread. So what's the problem with bread, Karen?
Bread, like especially white bread. Actually, the grains. A lot of people have trouble with grains.
Yeah.
Affecting the blood sugar. Bread, the white bread is just like wasted
It's
calories. There's no nutrients.
like plastic, isn't
Right.
it? It's eating
It
plastic.
spikes your blood sugar.
Yeah. Yeah, it has no redeeming qualities at all.
So really, we're just putting everything in here. We're gonna cook it down
Mm-hmm.
and then turn off the heat. Here's some mushrooms.
Well,
A cup of mushrooms chopped or diced. So the last thing we have is raisins or currants. I like to use currants because they're smaller and they get distributed more evenly.
So what trick did we do to make it?
So we could not find currants without, first of all, we couldn't find organic currants or currants without oil. So we just took some organic raisins and chopped them.
Improvise.
Yep, it's the same thing. But isn't this pretty with all the colors?
It's beautiful. It smells divine. What you all could do here? Not really, but the guy get more for me.
Just gonna put water in it, keep it from sticking. And as soon as this gets cooked down, we're just gonna turn the heat off, put the apples and the raisins in. There's a lid under there that we can put on top.
And we put the apples in last because
We're not cooking them.
Right.
It's just
there we go.
here, I'll take.
Okay.
And then you could just get that.
And what are we looking for now?
A big lid. It's not quite as big as this.
Not quite as big.
Kind of in the back.
For that.
Oh, is that the only one? Could
So
be
far.
under here.
Okay. On your side?
On the-
Okay. Let's see. We're gonna improvise. I'm gonna go this way. Your picture on the food. On the shelf. I think it is. Okay. Yep. Voila. Okay. All right. And so we're gonna let that calm down for a little bit, right?
We're gonna let it just cook down. It's okay. We
Sounds
can
like
just
our
let it
loaf
go.
is ready. Cancel.
And I know I put salt in here.
Can you see it?
Oh, we need pepper to taste.
Got pepper. I'll bring it over. Just right beside it.
And a teaspoon of salt once we remove it from the heat.
So is that black pepper?
This.
And is
You're
it-
okay with this?
I am.
Because if you're not, we can leave it out.
Not a whole lot.
Okay, good.
Yes, ma'am. I'm a big fan
Gives
of
you
black pepper.
all the flavors of the traditional.
It smells, honestly, it smells like my grandmother's kitchen in here. If I didn't know any better. No disrespect to grandma, this is better.
You'll feel better anyway.
Absolutely. And so that's all water, no oil.
Great.
Yeah, and those flavors are fusing nicely. I can, oh gosh, the smell is delicious. And so people eat with their eyes first, and so it's important to have the rich colors of the rainbow. That's what we have there.
And you're getting tons of nutrients,
Tons.
even if you don't know what's in it.
Right.
Like just eat different color whole foods, plant foods.
So here's the thing about heat on vegetables. You may lose some vitamins, but you don't really lose the minerals. The minerals just displace, right? So they go into the water, or and we're going to be eating all of that anyway. Right. So you won't be losing minerals at all, at least based on my training. That you might lose some vitamins. They're heat sensitive. But you can get your vitamins from, raw.
Eat some raw food.
Yeah, raw fruit. Yeah.
So like if you eat the cruciferous vegetables, here we go. You can like broccoli or kale.
Yeah.
Cabbage, whatever. If you're cooking it, so there's an enzyme and a precursor.
Yes.
And the precursor interacts with the enzyme, produces the sulforaphane, which is cancer protective, for one thing. It's just a whole lot of benefits. And to get that reaction started, you can, so the enzyme is what's destroyed by the heat, not the sulforaphane and not the precursor. So if you chop your vegetables first, and let them sit about 40 minutes, then it's already started that reaction, and you get the sulforaphane, even if you cook it.
And it's not destroyed by heat.
It's not.
Wow.
Or you can cook it and just eat some of the raw with what you've cooked, and you start that reaction. Or you can sprinkle mustard powder on the, that's also cruciferous, and you can start that reaction on your cooked.
So the important thing is the enzymatic process, getting that started. Since we cut this up last night, it's been sitting for a while. So this is really good cancer fighting, even cooked, cruciferous. That's a good tip. Let's see if anybody has any questions about that. I'm going to go back to the.
Just hand me the salt before you go.
Sure.
And then I'll finish this up.
Okay. See if anyone has any questions about that. That's a really good tip to have.
So I'm going to turn off the heat.
Okay.
And just add the salt. And the raisins.
Yeah, and the frozen left because we're not trying to cook it. So is it best to just let it cool off a little bit, or we're just going to do a little flash and dash?
Yeah, I'm just going to let it sit 5 minutes in the warm. I'm going to take it off.
Smells delicious. Oh my gosh. We are having Thanksgiving dinner tonight. Yum. Are you good?
Yeah.
I'll slide it over here. You're doing remarkable. I just cannot believe.
I mean, this is fun.
I know. And I'm so glad to be here to have fun with you. To play in the kitchen.
Thank you for sharing.
I've been playing in the kitchen with her all by myself, but I get to share.
I'm going to put in our chopped raisins.
Yep. And again, she's letting it rest. When we slide over here, get up. So yeah, I
love the gas stove for that reason.
Yeah.
Okay, so raisins.
Oh, it smells so good. It's delicious.
We're going to let them sit 5 minutes while you give see if there's any questions. And you give your
I gave 2.
Okay.
Another tip. So I'm going to ask you a question. So if someone wanted to do like traditional mashed potatoes, do you have a recipe for that?
Yes.
Ooh.
It's not in this book,
That's not in the book.
but totally doable.
Good.
There's a few different ones.
So I guess the point I'm trying to make is that there is a substitution or a better option for anything that you have traditional, except maybe the animal.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you can make stuff things like that too.
Yeah, that's true. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and get out the coconut.
The coconut, yep, I'll do that.
I'm going to see if the pie's good.
All right. So I'll get the Okay, you got it?
Okay. Yeah, you can do. Okay. It's good. It's
Yay.
good to go.
So the holidays typically stress me out. I'm a bit of a introvert, and so while a little stimulation is awesome, a whole lot of it, not so much. And so for me to enjoy the holidays, I have to give to myself first. I have to do a self-care, which is giving myself a lot of love and energy. So if I don't do that, I find I eat more because I'm stress eating. So that's one of my tips. If you're an introvert, or even if you're not, if you do some self-care before you get out there and visit with all the family and friends, you may find you won't be doing so much stress eating. Right? And the thing about stress eating, even if you're eating good food, I'm in fight or flight, and so I'm not digesting the food well, and I'm not enjoying it. So I'm just trying to give myself some love that I could have done earlier by just doing yoga or walking in the park or petting the dog. Yeah, so those are some things that I do. You don't know about that tip. Is that a good one? Yeah,
Great
works for
one.
me.
Great. Okay, so what we did, the recipe for the coconut cream is in there too. It's like whipped cream.
I just got intoxicated last night when she was doing that. It's so good, the smell.
Alright, so you can decorate it however you want.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And what I also like to encourage people to do is to start your own traditions, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, it doesn't always have to be the way grandma did it. It could be the way grandma did it with a little healthy twist, right? So don't be afraid to start your own tradition. And as Karen indicated, and I can tell you this for myself, that the side dishes everybody's familiar with, what they miss is that big piece of meat in the middle of the table. So even if you do that and you still have all those delicious, wonderful sides, it's still a new tradition, right? Yeah. So establish your own traditions. Look at that. Wow, you're so talented. Okay. I think I failed that
Trying to
class.
do it without falling over.
No.
Okay. No, I'm not gonna fall. Alright.
That's
Get that piece in the
beautiful.
middle there.
Oh.
Whatever.
I'll fight you for it, Joe. That is delicious looking. Look at that. Wow, look at the pie. And we did that in how many?
What time is it?
That's okay.
Okay.
It's worth it, right? Anybody have any place to go? So we put that back in the refrigerator.
Sure.
Set up.
And we will
Feast.
we can get out the
loaf.
loaf.
What a treat.
We can put the stuffing in the bowl. That's your loaf.
Oh my gosh, it smells so good. So I'm gonna
Yes,
put it.
gotcha.
Use that. Oh, it's divine.
So if you're dehydrating it, it will take longer.
It's a little longer. And the thing about dehydration too, I like to leave a little moisture in my food for digestion purposes.
And you can use this one.
Okay, let's go. So, not ambidextrous, but I'm gonna try left handed. And I'm doing it. Wow, that's delicious looking. Oh my gosh, it smells so good. So how many people do you think this would feed? If they had everything else?
Everything in that mini. So there's 8 slices here.
Okay, so I'm just gonna put on top. Oops. I failed the plating class too in chef school. And one to go on.
So the thing is, this is a little piece of the loaf, but there's so much other food.
Yeah, that you don't
You
need.
don't need, and so it's perfectly balanced with the almonds. So it helps you fat.
Oh my god. Oh my gosh. The flavor flavor balancing is so, I mean, I can taste everything. I can taste the salt and the sugar and the depth of texture. Texture is everything to me. That's delicious. What else can I do for you?
I think we can put this stuff in the bowl and we can eat.
All right.
Okay. Answer questions.
So to remind everyone, you too can have this experience. Not tonight. By ordering the recipe book, and you'll get the video step by step. So if you've never cooked food before, you're scared that you're going to do it wrong, Karen's going to be there to guide you the whole way. That wonderful video. Got it. So I'd really be curious to know how many people are going to be doing this for Thanksgiving or trying and establishing a new tradition of feeling good after Thanksgiving instead of feeling like, oh my gosh. And one of the other tips too, and I think most of you already do this, if you're gonna go from house to house to house to house, it's best to eat a little protein, healthy protein before you go out. That can be a protein bar, it could be some nuts and seeds, but you wanna make sure you feel that you don't go anywhere hungry, because if you've ever gone anywhere hungry, you're gonna eat more.
Do we know how many recipes are in the actual guide?
Let me see. Great.
So we know we have a cocktail, right?
Yes.
A mocktail.
Cocktail and soup.
That's a lot. 11 recipes.
11.
And a video, so it's like having Karen in your kitchen without having to pay thousands of dollars. Right? She's worth every penny, let me tell you. Okay, so that is,
In the pie.
oh my gosh, we have all these
Dinner.
feasts here. It smells like Thanksgiving up in here. It's so delicious.
Are there any questions?
So I'm gonna taste for everybody,
Okay.
let you know it's all good, and hope that you will go ahead and get the recipe guide and get the video and learn how to make this delicious food for Thanksgiving, and give your family the gift of health for Thanksgiving instead of the gift of, well, not a gift, bloat, fatigue, and weight gain. You don't let this be the year that you don't gain weight. Let this be the year that you don't have bloat. Let this be the year that you establish a new tradition of feeling good and fabulous and energized. Yeah, with little salt, I mean no fat, no oil, and real sugar. No, not processed.
Okay.
Whole food, all whole food. Yeah. Thank you, Chef Karen. This is
Thank you.
amazing.
We got to introduce Joe,
Yes.
Oh,
who is behind the camera. You really
Shall
don't want
I?
to get in front of the camera?
no, that's
So we
okay.
can see.
It looks spectacular though.
Oh, thank you. So Karen and I are not technical people as far as the equipment is concerned, and Joe just came to the rescue,
Okay.
made sure everything looked beautiful, made sure we looked great, and so we could just focus on the food and focus on giving you the information of how to make this great food. So high five. Yay.
And Janet says, great job, girls.
Oh,
Thank you, Janet. Miss you.
Yes.
Okay.
And with that, I guess we will say goodbye because we're ready to eat.
Yep.
Food's done.
And happy holidays.
Happy
This is good for Christmas or Thanksgiving
There you are.
or anything in between.
Yeah.
And